Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. We're going to be doing another portrait demonstration today, and I'm going to be painting, instead of my daughter, a family friend, Chris, who's very kindly volunteered to model today. He wasn't a reluctant model, seems quite keen, so we'll see how good he is, see how still he can stay. And this is going to be a sort of middle-aged man, sort of tipping up a bit, maybe. So we'll see how it goes. And it should be a lot of fun. Let's get straight into the portrait. The first thing to do is to mark the scale. So that's the bottom of the chin and the top of the hat here, top of the head here. So that's the scale I'm doing. So again, it's about a 4-inch head. So we're going to be doing it at a slight angle this time. So the drawing is a little bit more tricky with it. So we'll mark that as being the middle of the head. So Chris's eyes are a little bit above the middle, so we'll do that as the plane of the eyes there. And then the nose here, mouth. Again, don't work on one place too long because you'll find that the scale will change. With portraiture, it's always important to keep the scale right. And if you work on one area for too long, the scale goes wrong. So I always like to work everywhere, and then hopefully you're going to have the right scale. So working everywhere. The hat, the ear coming maybe here, but that might be changed later on. Chin. See, just keep on going round the paper. Never let you, for me, never let the pencil work in one space. So you can see his eyes are, that's horizontal, so his eyes are slightly tipping down one side. That's always an important part to notice. A lot of people don't notice that, and they tend to draw all eyes as horizontal because that's how they imagine it in their imagination. And the mouth, trying to get that distance, these distance right, the end of the nose, that triangle. Okay, beginning to get it now. And lots of practice needed for portrait drawing. It's a very precise type of sketching, not for values, but for outline. There it goes. And you get the hat coming out about there. Down at the back. Chris is wearing a traditional sporting hat. Beginning to come together. Upper lip. So I'm now trying to go into getting it more precise. So I made a slight error on the ear, so the ear is going further back now. It's only when you start getting further into the drawing that you start to see the real errors. and it's very much a correcting process. Working out the collar. And the shirt. Okay, that's the drawing done. So that's the drawing all done now, and I think it looks quite a lot like Chris there, and I'm pleased with that. So the next stage now is the painting of it, and I tend to do the same thing every time. It's that first wash of a bluey, sort of skinny colour all the way across it. So again, I'll use my favourite colour to begin with, which is cerulean blue, that one there. Maybe water it down a bit more, and I'll use my bigger brush too. I'm going to do a bigger wash. So there's the cerulean blue there, mixed in, and then I'm going to do a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow ochre there, and then begin. So I'll do the cerulean blue across the forehead again, maybe a little bit darker there, the hat, and then I'll introduce the more skin tones into it. So yellow ochre, wash the brush, yellow ochre and cadmium red. Okay, so then bring it down into the neck. Okay, so that's the first layer done. So already it helps it a lot. So I'll let that dry for a bit. Yeah, that's good. So this is the next stage now, the second layer, and this is the part where you really start to look at the tones and the values on the face and to work out where you're going to start it. Now I'm going to take it easy, and there's an obvious shadow in between the eyes or between at the top of the nose that I'm going to start with. So I'm looking at the colours of it. There's a red and there's a blue with it. So to put a bit of red and a bit of blue there, and push them together. Maybe a bit of yellow too. So you see that's the colour I'm getting now. So all the three colours are there, and I'm going to place those in. Oh, that's a bit too red. Add a bit more blue. There. Okay, so it's right here. That's the interesting colour. I could do it a bit more red. It's quite adventurous, the first part of the painting, really, because you have to make a mark, and it's very easy for it to go wrong. It never quite looks right in the first layer. Constantly dipping out into the water, cleaning the brush. Trying to get that a bit lighter there. That's good. Yep. Getting a bit of alizarin crimson into it now, which is a nice colour for portraits. And then the bottom of the nose.
Excuse me.
That's Chris coughing away.
Yeah.
Got a cold at the moment. We'll forgive him for that. Right. So yeah, so the underneath of the nose is quite It's quite dark because the light's coming from above. Okay, keep using the fingers. The fingers are great ways of mopping up colour. So that's quite a nice start there. So we're going to go above the head now, above into the forehead, where we've got the shadow. And I think it's quite important not to make these too deep in colour. A bit of yellow in there as well. And I'm mixing these colours. But there's definitely a warmth coming through. Okay, well. Take a bit of that out, just to lighten up a bit. Okay, so we're just working down the forehead now to above the eye. Trying to connect everything together. So I'm using this, I'm going to leave that as a reflection, which I quite like. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so working down into more of the eye now. So you've got the upper eye there, upper eyelid coming in. Nice. Trying to get more of the blue in as well. I love that blue. It's very good for indicating these sort of areas right by the corner of the eye. And on this side as well, make that redder. There's there in crimson. A bit of that, a bit of cabin red. Okay. I'm going to pop the eyes in now. Chris has got blue eyes. So a little bit of cerulean blue and I think ultramarine blue. Let's just soften it down. Maybe there's a bit of green in there as well. A bit of green in there too. So that's the sort of colour. So again, keep it unmixed. Right, and they're going to go right there. That's the first eye. A bit more blue in there. And the second eye is slightly lower than the first. Again, that's one of the most important things to recognise in portraiture, whether one eye is above the other eye, and that is the thing that's most missed. So try and think about that one carefully. Okay. Now we've got the rest of the eyelid coming in, so I'm going to do that sort of a reddish colour, just to indicate the blood flow underneath, around the eye. Great, that's turning out nicely. And now we're going to get through some of the more skin tones. Okay, having a very careful look, always carefully looking at what you're doing. The most important part really is to keep on looking. And mostly errors are caused because you didn't notice something. It's a bit like chess. I do love chess, and I lose at chess because I'd forget to notice something. So portrait painting is very similar to that. You forget to notice something and you've had it. So I'm going to lift that bit there. So clean water, and then you're going to take that out. That's good. And I'm going to work on the other side of the face. If you're looking to soften things in places and keep things hard-edged, and I don't know, it can't really tell you how to do that. So that's partly experience. getting darker. And there, so I'm introducing some darker colours, so some ultramarine blues and some browns. So that's the darkness coming in here like that. I'm not really trying to capture every detail of the face. I'm trying to be very selective in what I choose to put in and what I don't put in. It's an impression after all, impressionist portraiture. Okay, that's come on nicely there. Right, I'm going to put work my way down the face now. So more to the nose. So careful look, and then place that in. Just a bit of red, darker red here. Trying to find the nostrils. So quite dark, so a little bit of cadmium red and some ultramarine blue, and maybe a little bit of burnt umber. Try and get that in. Okay, so here comes the nose coming in there. And then the one on the other side, about there. Okay. Now, the nose is a complicated structure, so there's a sort of, I'm going to use cobalt cerulean blue again, mix it up here, a little bit of red in there, and to get that sort of darkening underside in. Now you see I've got quite a hard edge there, now I need to soften that. Yeah, that's about right. Now for the other side of the nose, it's right here. So I'm not painting every dot and comma of it, I'm trying to leave a lot of it to the imagination. Yeah, I think that's okay. Right, that's the nose in. Now for my favourite thing is the philtrum. Right under his nose. Everyone remembers from the last time. That's that. So Chris has got a bit of a, you can see the beard coming through a bit, which I always tend to paint in blue. I'm really looking for the value ranges, the colour changes in tone. That's what's going to give the shape much more than the colour is. I always remember seeing a painting by Claude Monet when he was very late in his life, and he'd almost gone blind, but he couldn't see colour, and he painted his self-portrait purple. But because he got all the values right, it looked right. It was purple, but it looked right. It was still a good portrait. Very good. Right, now for the upper lip. Now I'm just going to use alizarin crimson in that, and a little bit of blue as well for the upper lip. Soften that. So, corner of Chris's mouth. Chris has a sort of mouth that slopes downwards at the ends, at the edges, just like my father did. So my dad was like that. There we go. Now some nice warm yellow colours I can see coming down into the chin. right underneath here. Too much. So take that off. Okay, and then bring in the cerulean blue again. So one of the reasons I use cerulean blue is that it acts as a counterbalance to the pinkness of the face. So not everything is the same colour. Otherwise, you end up with a very pink face, which I don't really like too much. Okay. Right, so now we're working around into the side of the face. Trying to work out what colours to do. It's a bit more of the pinky colour here, I think. And a bit of alizarin crimson. It has a sort of bluiness to it, which I like. Put that underneath the chin, underneath the bottom lip. Too much. Okay, so that's the side of the face pretty much done. Now I'm working on the other side of the face, which is much darker. So I don't necessarily want to make it I don't want to make it as dark as it really is. Try and keep the cerulean blue going here. Soften that one a bit. You just want to find these hard edges and soften them from time to time. Maybe that was right, maybe that was wrong, I don't know. Right, going further back into the cheeks and going back towards the ear. That was quite nice, I like that one. When sometimes a nice mark comes in, you just know it's right and you think, I'm leaving that one. Lift a bit there. Okay, right like that. Now for the side of the eye, to bring that out a bit more. I'm sure I like that. Might lift that at maybe 2. Okay, I'm trying to put the ear in now. So sort of, it's a pinky, quite pinky coloured. So I put a wash over that first. Okay. Then I'll bring the down to the chin. Now underneath the chin. There's certainly there's a lot of changes of colour in portraiture. So I'm mixing a bit more the red and the cerulean blue. Okay, roll that more out. And this is under the chin. Just soften it a smidgen. That's nice. And then coming down, so more of a pinky yellow colour, pinky yellow, a bit of water to make it slightly lighter, just the top bit. Now hopefully the ear's dried out a bit now, and I can go over that. toe with just a few darker tones, nothing. I don't want to make it too meticulous. So some darker reds maybe, a bit of blue just to darken it. Okay, so let's work that out. So, yep. So we're going to continue on with the ear and just trying to get those darker tones in, but nothing too detailed. See how that's almost enough for me. Okay, so now underneath the ear we can put in the darker tones on the back of the neck. So I think I'll just use maybe cerulean blue on that. Right, so now we come to the top of the head again, and I might start putting in the hat a bit more firmly. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to make it quite a nice colourful hat. I'll just clean that away. So it's a grey hat, but I'm not going to paint it grey. I'm going to paint it with one of my favourite colours, cerulean blue and ultramarine blue, and maybe a little bit of brown. So those are the colours I'm going to choose for that one. So those are the colours half mixed up. Again, always trying to keep them separate. Let's start that. So the dark section there. A slightly greyer section in the front. Lighter section. And lighter section here. Okay, that's nice. Amazing how the clothing and the hats add character to the whole picture. I really like that part. Cerulean blue, pure cerulean blue, maybe a bit lighter than that. And now for the darker sections, which are going to be ultramarine blue and burnt umber. Mix those together, just like that. And it does go quite dark at the back, but I'm not going to depict it like that. I'm going to choose cerulean blue again at the back. Yeah, that's quite fun. Quite like that. Now the transition here is a bit too strong here. You see it's a bit too much, so I need to soften that down. And I'm going to soften it down by a little bit of yellow ochre and red. A bit of blue maybe. So right here. So it doesn't not quite so stark. Okay, I'll leave that to dry for a bit. Now I'm going to work on the eyes a bit more. So I'm going to get a smaller brush and work on the eyelid. This is going to make quite a big difference, I think. Okay, so careful look again. There. And the other side as well. And it's red. And then a little bit of blue in the middle of the eye for the pupil. And look where else I'm going to paint now. Back to my next size brush, just put a few more darks in the ear. Now to the eyebrows. Should make a big difference. So maybe a little raw umber. So that raw umber. It's always quite a nice colour for eyebrows. So again, I'm going to soften the edge of the eyebrow with a bit of cerulean blue. And then you have the eyebrow coming the other side. Again, I'm going to paint that just in cerulean. This endless softening of things, dabbing out. Picking out the little changes in colour and value. Another careful look at Chris. There's a little bit of white behind here, which is too white. So I need to get rid of that. A bit of skin colour. That's good. Touch here. Okay, that's looking good. So now I'm going to place it a little bit on the underside of the left-hand eyelid, just to bring that out a bit. So that's a little bit of reddy colour. Bring that out there. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting there. Now we'll go down to the neck. So a little bit of yellow ochre, alizarin crimson and blue. Mix those a bit together, and I'll come down here a bit. I think that's a bit of yellow too. Here. Soften those down a bit. A bit too yellow. Again, like the fingers. And then there's a sort of reflected light, shadow light from the shirt coming in this side. Just a few touches here and there. Amazing what a few touches here and there makes. Now I'm wondering whether it needs a little bit of darkening here, but I'm slightly afraid to do that. But I'll give it a go. Just a dab in here. Okay, looking good. Now, a little bit of work into the... Need a little bit darker in here. We need to create quite a hard line for the peaked hat, the flat cap. So I'm going to bring that in here. So a little bit yellowy. Bring it up in here. See the idea? There's a bit of a shadow coming on in there. Now you could keep on going with it. There's no end to what you can do. But I feel I'm drawing to a conclusion on this now. Always try and get the eyes right though. Okay. So now what we'll do, we'll work on the jacket and shirt. A few more bits and bobs and that'll be it. So put a bit of green in there, a bit of cerulean blue. That'll be the shirt coming in. And then here, the other shirt part coming in here. And Chris has a black jacket, black leather jacket. So that's going to be the classic ultramarine blue and burnt umber coming in. So that's good. More to a dark here. And then light a bit down here. Try and give it the shape more. Right, 1 or 2 touches to the hat. Let's bring out the sort of shape of it a bit more. Maybe clean that bit up there. Maybe I'll place a bit of background on there, on the side of his face. So I might run a bit of cerulean blue down the side. Now a little bit of a touch of white for the eyes. On there. On there. That gives it a little bit more shine. Maybe up here. Trying to work it out. The white's a very important part, I think. It just brings out certain parts of it and makes it interesting. Okay, we're just going to do a little bit of pencil work now to it, which I always quite enjoy. So around this area, just to maybe bring out the side of the face a bit better, and just to give it the proper line that it has, which I think worked quite nicely. Sort of a contour drawing. It just seems to soften it for me. A little bit of a line in there. Okay, that's fine. So we're just going to sign it now. James Potter. 2024, and that's pretty much it. Maybe a few lines up here. Like that. Okay, there we have it. Right, so here we have the little portrait, and we both enjoyed that, didn't we, Chris?
Very much indeed.
It was
yes.
a fun process, and it was a good thing for your friends to experience, I think. And not many people have a chance to have their portraits done these days. It's all through the iPhone normally. So this was a lot of fun for us. I hope you enjoyed all that, and hopefully you'll subscribe to me, or maybe give me a thumbs up. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks very much. Bye bye.